Welcome into the night class. This is Coach Knight again. Today we're continuing factoring, but we're going to do a little bit more complicated factors. Last time we only factored greatest common factors out. This time we are factoring trinomials. So let's see how we do here. The question says, how does factoring a trinomial relate to multiplying binomials? So, again, I want you to understand, we've done problems like this, correct? Where you multiply. Okay, we're good with that? Now we're going to factor this. Factor means figure out what did you multiply by to get that answer. Okay, we're trying to get this for our answer. So to do that, we're going to work backwards here, okay? But before we work backwards, we got to work forward. So I'm going to multiply this out. Actually, it already is, okay? So we did x times x, and we got what? X squared. All right, x times 3 is 3x. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 3 is 6. And we add our like terms up. We get x squared plus 5x plus 6, okay? So right now, what were my factors of x squared plus 5x plus 6? X plus 2 times x plus 3. Remember, what are factors? Factors are just what do you multiply by to get your answer. Everybody with me? So here's what happened. What do you notice? It says the product of the second terms of the binomial. So what we're doing this one right here. What do you notice about the product? What's product mean? Multiplying of which terms?
Second term.
The second terms of the binomial. So what's the second term here? 2. What's the second term here? 3. So what do you notice when you multiply them?
They equal 6.
You always get what?
6.
That number. The number that's on the end. Okay? The sum of the second terms. What do you notice when you add 2 and 3?
5. Equals 5.
That's always the number in the middle. Okay? When factoring a trinomial, you work backwards to try to find those two numbers. Okay? You always start with that number. Okay? You need the factors of that number that add up to the middle number. Okay? It's like a little game in your head. All right? You can't start with the middle number. You have to start with the number on the end. Here's why. How many numbers add up to 5?
Not many.
2. 1 and 4. 1 and 4.
3, 2.
5 and 0.
Expand your mind a little.
1 plus 1. Infinity.
Infinite number of numbers add up to 5. Okay? You could say 10 plus negative 5, 11 plus negative 4, or excuse me, that's wrong. 11 plus negative 6, 12 plus negative 7, 13 plus negative 8. How long can I do this? I can do this forever. So you can't start with what numbers add up to 5. You have to start with what numbers multiply to be 6, because that's a lot smaller choices. Okay? You got 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. That's it. Okay? Now, of course, you can have negative numbers, right? Okay? But which of these two, if you were to add them up, add up to 6? Or, excuse me, add up to 5? The 2 and 3. So there are your factors. X plus 2, X plus 3. Okay? All right? We did that kind of fast, so we'll try one on our own here. Hey, we just did that. What two numbers multiply to be 6 and add up to 5?
2 and 3.
Now, I'm writing the 2 first and the 3 second. Does that matter? No. Okay? Does not matter. If I wrote x plus 3 times x plus 2, you still get it right. All right? Does not matter at all. Let's try a little. There we go. All right. Every time I have a trinomial, what two things did I multiply to get that trinomial? Say it louder. A binomial. So I know it's going to be x and x. I just got to figure out what's on the ends here. Okay? So, two numbers. Multiply to be 36. Add up to 13. 3 times 13 is not 36. 3 times 12 does not add up to 13. But y'all are thinking good. And you will get, the more the game you play, the more you play the game, the better you will be at it. Okay? 4 times 9 is 4 plus 9, 13.
Yes.
Good job, Desi. Good job, Desi. Let's go, Desi.
You can always check it when you're done. Does 9 times 4 equal 36?
Yes.
Does 9 plus 4 equal 13?
Yes.
Everybody good?
Yes.
Okay. X, two numbers that multiply to be 28, add up to be 11.
7, 4, 6 plus 5.
Again, do not, okay, did y'all hear what she said? I'm not making fun of her, but I want you to understand. You can't start in the middle. You're right, 6 plus 5 does add up to 11, but we got to start with what multiplies to be 28 first, okay? Because, like I said, there's an infinite number of numbers that add up to be 11. We can keep going and do that forever. But there's only a certain few that multiply to be 28, okay? Again, there is nothing wrong with writing them all down. And when I write them down, every time, whether I know it works or not, I start with 1, okay? 1 times what gives me 28?
28.
It ends in an even number, so I know 2 will go into it. How many times? 14. 3. Many of you may not know this. Do y'all know the easy way to know if 3 goes into it or not? If you add the digits up, and 3 will go into that number, then 3 will go into your number that you're talking about. So 2 plus 8 is 10. Will 3 go into 10? No, then 3 doesn't go into 28 either. Okay? Oh, it's going to get blown some more. Will it go into 4? 4 times what? It doesn't end in 5 or 0, so don't worry about 5. Will 6 go into it? No. And then now we're right back to what? 7. So once you start repeating them, you're done. This is all the options we have. You just have to pick the one that adds up to what? 11. Okay? Everybody good? Now, these have been really easy so far because we've only dealt with what kind of numbers? Positive. Okay, so no big deal. The rules do not change. Okay? Same rules. Just a few things are a little different here. Okay? 2 numbers that multiply to be 18, positive 18, and add up to negative 11.
So would you have to add one of the numbers in negative?
Let's think about our multiplication rules. Okay? To get a product that's positive, our 2 factors either have to be both what? Positive, or they both have to be negative. So if we're adding up to be negative, I guess they both got to be what here? Negative. Because I can't add 2 positive numbers and get a negative. Does that follow me?
Negative 2 and
Okay? That's all there is to it. Now, if this is positive and that's positive, you know these are both going to be positive. If this is positive and that's negative, then they both have to be what? Negative. All right? Let's do some more of those. Again, positive, but they have to add up to be a negative. So they're both going to be negatives. What 2 numbers multiply to be 15, add up to 8? 3 and 5. Everybody getting this? Pretty simple? Okay. How about? See, I love it when y'all get it because you're like, oh, this is super easy. Okay?
the homework is here and we're like, no.
No, you're just going to same thing on the homework. Okay?
No, you get
My brain turns off for at least
Everybody good so far? All right? All right. Now, this one's what? Negative. Okay, so think with me. Now the number's negative. Well, the only way for 2 numbers to multiply to be a negative is for 1 to be positive, 1 to be negative. So now I know I got a plus and a minus.
So that's one negative.
If the plus is in the middle, that means my bigger number has to be what? Positive. If it's negative in the middle, that means my bigger number has to be negative. Okay? So, okay. I'm just going to write it down. You said positive 3, negative 2. What does that add up to? What does that add up to? 1. We need it to add up to what? 5. Okay? So, what else could be?
So you could have.
Golly,
That
Desi.
works.
Okay.
She's like,
Well, if you really think about it, okay, the 6 is making it easy for us. Because, believe it or not, there ain't very many numbers that multiply to be 6. 2 and 3, 1 and 6. That's it. Okay? So, you always have to remember, you can throw negatives in there because we're getting -6, right? And so, that means we could have -2 or 3, or we could have -3 and +2. Or we could have 1 and -6, or we could have +6 and -1. Okay, so you got to remember that, but really there's not many options to get 6. Is that making sense? Okay, so same thing, couple of them. Again, if you kind of know the pattern, I know since this is negative, one's got to be plus, one's got to be minus. And since this is minus, the bigger number has to be negative. Okay, so what multiplies to be -14 and adds up to -5? 7 and +2. And again, after you're done, it takes 2 seconds. 2 times -7 is -14. 2 minus 7, -5. Everybody good? If everything you just said is true, moving on. I got it right. Okay? And if you're really one of those, really want to make sure you get it right, you can always do what with it? Distribute. Always distribute. Make sure you get that. Okay? Again, literally, all you're doing is the same thing you've been doing backwards. Okay? Here we go. We have a negative and a positive. So again, I know I'm going to have a positive and negative. My bigger numbers will be positive. What is it?
Positive 8,
Positive 8,
negative 2.
-2. Done. Any questions? Everybody's good? Yeah, awesome. Y'all are awesome. How does multiplying binomials in 2 variables relate to factoring trinomials? This is as hard as they get. What did they add here?
Lots of numbers.
Two variables. Okay, so now rather than just having an x, we may have an x and a y. But as long as you have an x squared here and a y squared here and x and y in the middle, you don't do anything different. Okay? The only difference is when you go to factor them out, you have an x and a y. You got me? Just to show you, what 2 numbers multiply to be 8, add up to 6?
4 and 2.
4 and 2. The only difference is you put what with them? The y. Okay? It's just like we've been doing, but now you put your y with your numbers. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Just to be clear, you will always start out with x, right?
Unless it's written backwards. It could be 8y squared plus 6xy plus x squared, and now everything is just in reverse.
Yes, sir. I was just making sure.
Okay? So here, what 2 numbers multiply to be -15 add up to 2? +5, -3, you just put the y with it. Okay? What numbers multiply to be 63 add up to -16? -9, -7, you just put the y with it. Everybody good? Okay? Try some on our own. See how I'm doing that? I'm already putting my y because I know I got 2 variables. Other than that, everything is the same. 2 numbers that multiply to be 24 add up to 10.
6 and 4.
Plus 4y plus 6y. Done. Awesome.
My brain doesn't work that fast.
I didn't even finish reading it.
He's been on them.
Yeah, my brain doesn't work that.
Multiplies to be 32, adds up to 12.
8, 4, and
8 and 4.
I'm not.
Don't worry.
It's okay. I promise you will get faster. I promise. Okay? I promise you will get faster.
7 and 3.
Work there.
I can't even see what's going on.
We have a positive, a negative here, so that means, there you go, -7, -3. Again, -7 times -3 is positive what? 21. -7 plus -3 is -10. Everybody good?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Woo! That looks like a toughie right there. It's not. It's no. We're not skipping it. What kind of nonsense is that? All right. Benjamin is designing a new house. The bedroom closet will have one wall that contains a closet system using 3 different size storage units. The number and amount of wall space needed for each of the 3 types of storage units is shown. What are the dimensions of the largest amount of wall space that will be needed? So basically, we're just finding the what of this. Don't make it hard. Area. Just find the area. Okay? So how many of these do we have? One. What is the area of this one?
2x squared.
Okay? We have how many of these? 35. What's the area of that one?
1 square foot.
1. And we have how many of this one? 12. And what's the area of that one? X. So, our area is how many of these? Just 1. Plus, how many of these? How many of these?
Oh.
Okay, that's part A.
Oh.
All right. Now, we're not done with part A yet. Okay? It says, what are the dimensions of the wall space that will be needed? So basically, the dimensions are the base and the height, right? Well, what did we do to the base and the height to get area? We multiply. So we've already multiplied it. We need to factor it. Okay? So, my dimensions will be 2 numbers that multiply to be 35 and add up to 12. That's an easy one. 7 and 5. So one dimension will be x plus 7. The other dimension will be x plus 5. It is very easy. Okay? One more word problem. It's the exact same thing, except different amounts this time. So this time we have x squared plus 12x plus what? 11. Everybody see how I'm getting those? Okay? So it says the number amount. What would be the dimensions of the largest wall area you would need if you used 11 of the 1 by 1 foot units while keeping the other units the same? So we're going to factor. Okay?
I'm paying attention.
So there's your dimensions. X plus 1, x plus 11. That would be the largest wall area you would need. Okay? Any questions? Everybody good? All right. Thank you for your time. And as always, stay above the line. Y'all have a great day. See you next time.